Who doesn't love steak? It can feel like such a celebratory meal, but if you don't cook it that often, it's pretty easy to just default to the simplest recipe you found online. If you watch cooking videos at all, I bet you've seen Gordon Ramsay butter basting a steak. Now there's nothing wrong with that, and it can get you a delicious result, but the hold that one recipe has on the internet is kind of insane. There are other delicious ways to make a steak. For example, steak au poivre. It sounds fancy, but it's basically a seared steak with a creamy, spicy, peppery sauce on top. This is a really easy recipe to make if you want to impress somebody or if you just want to treat yourself. The steak is going to be perfectly cooked with a pepper crust, and the sauce is going to make for a luscious pairing with it. Let's make it.
Now this can be made with any cut of steak. Filet mignon would be classic, but I'm not the biggest filet fan. You're trading flavor for tenderness, and that seems like a bad trade to me. In the past few weeks, we've made this with both New York strip and ribeye, and they both turned out amazing. To get the flavor we want, we'll need to encrust one side of the steak with cracked pepper, but if we cook the steak in the pan with that crust, we run the risk of burning the pepper and ruining the sauce. My take is to separate the searing and the cooking of the steak. You could sear the steak first, starting with the non-crusted side, and finish it in a 400-degree oven until your desired temp. This works really well, and I recommend it if you don't have a sous vide. I'm going to reverse that by sous videing the steak first so it's cooked, and then we can sear it quickly before making the sauce. Season both sides of your steak heavily with salt and place it in a Ziploc bag with a touch of olive oil. Bring your sous vide up to 135 Fahrenheit for slightly under medium cook. Remove the air from the bag by leaving a slight opening and placing the bag into the water up to the opening. This will push out the air without needing to own a vacuum sealer. Let the steak cook in this for around an hour and we can prep our pepper sauce. We need 1 large shallot finely diced along with a few sprigs of thyme. The main flavoring for the sauce is green peppercorns and brine. Imagine a tiny little spicy, salty grape, and that's kind of what these taste like. They aren't crunchy like black peppercorns, but they pop when you eat them in a really delicious way. We need a little over 1 tablespoon of these, and I like to run my knife through them before putting them in. The other key flavoring for the sauce is cognac or brandy, about half a cup of it. Measure out half a cup of heavy cream and half a cup of beef stock as well. At this point, your steak should be cooked so we can remove it from the bag and slightly dry the outside with a paper towel. It's actually important to not completely dry it so the pepper can adhere. Crack roughly 2 tablespoons of black pepper really coarse. If your grinder doesn't do large pieces, consider putting the pepper in a bag and crushing it with a heavy pan. Place your pepper on top and press it into the steak. If you're not going the sous vide route, simply salt the steak as before and let it sit for roughly 20 minutes before applying the pepper. This draws out enough moisture for the pepper to adhere. We'll get a cast iron or carbon steel preheating over medium-high for a few minutes until it's smoking. Place a small layer of vegetable oil and then place your steak non-pepper side first. Because we've handled the cooking already, we just need to keep an eye on the crust formation. Once we've got a good crust, flip and do the same for the peppered side. As soon as this crust is good, remove the steak from the pan and turn off the flame. If you're not sous videing this, place your steak in a 400-degree oven to finish the cook. With the flame off and the pan slightly cooled, carefully pour in your brandy. For real, make sure there are no flames nearby because the alcohol will light up immediately. Add your shallots and wait a minute or so to turn the flame back on. It's okay to turn it back on when the alcohol has cooked off. Over medium-low, reduce the cognac until it's almost completely dry. Add your beef stock and do the same. We want to reduce this almost all the way down. Once it's reduced, add your peppercorns and thyme along with the heavy cream. Season this with a little black pepper and salt, and we're going to try reducing this slightly until it coats the back of a spoon. The sauce shouldn't be super liquidy, but we also don't want it too thick. To finish the sauce, turn off the heat and stir in 1 tablespoon of cold butter rapidly. There it is, beautiful and peppery sauce to pair with our steak. Just for looks purposes, I'm going to slice up this rested steak, but feel free to serve this really rustically. Whenever I have a strip steak, I like to remove the fat cap because there's a silver skin layer between the fat and the meat, and I don't like eating that. To square off the meat, I like to remove the ends and eat those as a little carving snack. Slice this at a slight angle and enjoy a wonderfully medium steak. If this is rustic, simply spoon the pepper sauce on top. If you're going super fancy with this, I like a plate with a rim so I can place the sauce on the bottom and top with the sliced steak. Warm your plate in a microwave and put down a thin layer of sauce on the plate. Spin the plate around to coat the entire bottom and top it with your steak. When I tell you this is an insanely delicious way to make a steak, you best believe me. It's spicy and warm from the peppercorn, but creamy and well seasoned from our green pepper sauce. The reduced brandy brings a slight sweetness that kind of keeps the whole dish in balance. Man, I really love this dish so much. Thank you so much for watching. If you're looking for more cooking content, I made a video about quick and easy weeknight meals you should check out. Consider supporting me on Patreon like these amazing people do. Cheers!